We are back for another episode after a little hiatus. This is episode 81 of the We Are One, You Are Two PlayStation podcast. I am your host, as always, Rob Fanzo, joined by the man without a moniker, Matt Rhodes.
Hey-o.
Matt, we've got a great show lined up for people today, but before we get into all that good stuff, I did want to go ahead and just remind everyone that if you like what you hear about this PlayStation podcast, you can go find us on Apple Podcasts and share us around. You can, I think, still rate us on iTunes as well. We really like those, and I'm going to start reading those out loud. I haven't checked them in a while. I'm going to see if there's any there to check. You can also find us on Spotify. You can find us on patreon.com over at We Are One, You Are Two. Same thing with our Twitter handle. Same thing with the IG, as the kids call it, or Instagram. We Are One, You Are Two _gaming. But anyway, no matter where you find us, like, share, subscribe. We really appreciate that. That keeps the lights on and the mics going. And we'd really love to be able to continue to do this for you all the time. So that being said, Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Robert. I had a very good day.
Very good day?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah, you had a little city trip.
Yeah, I went down. Yeah, we went down to the museum. It was nice. I mean, it's been a while since there was a Man-A exhibit going on, which is really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was nice to see that kind of exhibit and, yeah, get a little culture.
I was going to say, you're becoming a man of culture. You're sounding like myself more and more. Good stuff.
Yeah, it was nice. It was really good. It was a really fun time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get into things. We are going to talk a little bit about what we've been playing, of course, as we always do, but we're also going to talk a little bit about some PlayStation news regarding exclusives that are coming back out. We'll talk about what that means. The long-awaited expansion, the Celeste, as well. And Matt, I had mentioned to you, we were going to talk a lot about Control this week, but you had kind of a busy week, and so we didn't get to it. So I mentioned to you a couple of different ideas, and I think we're going to tackle those. One regarding Yakuza 7, because that seems to be in the news a lot for me lately anyway. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about demos as well. But as tradition dictates, because I do like tradition,
Certainly.
I think, isn't that how that Fiddler on the Roof song goes?
Mm-hmm. Tradition.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little. That should be our transition there every week. Right. Let's go ahead and talk about what we've been playing. And I'm, as tradition dictates, letting you go first.
As tradition dictates, I've been playing Rocket League and Fortnite. I had a few minutes like here and there, and just wanted to get like the challenges done. Like I said, I've been like kind of just checking the boxes lately, but I wanted to check those boxes before the boxes disappeared. So that's kind of why I didn't get the Control, because I just didn't have a lot of time this week. The little time that I did have went into Rocket League and Fortnite. And
for me, Control's the kind of game you want to sit down and soak in for at least 45 minutes to an hour to a couple of hours, actually, ideally.
Yeah, exactly. I would have felt like I was gypping myself if I didn't have at least 2 hours to put into it. Because I'm not far in it at all. I've only played for like an hour, maybe two. So I want to be able to invest a little bit more time than just a half hour and then forget where I was. You know what I mean? So that was the kind of thing where I was like, well, I can play this game for a couple, for like 20 minutes, half hour or whatever, and then be done. So that's why Control lost out a little bit this week. But what have you been playing, Robert?
Well, I've also been playing Control. What I was going to say about Control is, too, and it depends on what kind of gamer you are, but I know you and I are both this way. There's a lot, and we'll talk about this more in our spoiler cast, too, which we're gonna do like a spoiler-free podcast, I decided, and then we're going to take a section of that and do spoilery stuff, and that's going to be exclusive to our Patreon.
Sweet.
And so anytime a big game comes out, we're going to try and do exclusive Patreon spoiler for patrons only, spoiler, maybe half hour, 20 minutes, something like that, just a quick spoiler cast, give even more in-depth thoughts. And so if you're the kind of person who just needs more, you can throw that dollar that way. But I've been playing a lot of Control. I will say that I'm really enjoying it still. The lag that really bothered me, because I have a base PS4, a launch day PS4, has not been as bad yet. I hear it gets terrible towards the end, but I'm over halfway through the game, and it was bad in the beginning. It's kind of slowed down a little bit for me, and so that's good. I also will say that, depending on how you play, and this is kind of what I was getting at, there's a lot of stuff to read, and I hit the 120 collectible trophy before I was even halfway through the game.
Holy crap.
So I hit 120 collectibles, I think, sometime during Chapter 4, if I remember correctly.
Awesome.
And I'm now in Chapter 7, and I bet I've got over 150 collectibles.
Yeah, sweet.
I'm glad there's not a collect all collectibles trophy, but it's kind of cool because I'm still reading them and really enjoying them.
Well, good.
I played that this week. I played a lot of Remnant from the Ashes. The more and more I think about it, the more and more that's probably in my top 3 games of the year.
Wow.
For this year. I played a tiny bit of Yakuza 0 just so I wouldn't forget where I was, talking about forgetting where we are. And then I meant to touch Darksiders and finish that up, but I just haven't. But I did, and this is where maybe our podcast is going to have to shift directions. I did get a Nintendo Switch this week.
Oh, snap, Robert.
And so I played a little bit of the SNES Classics on there, the SNES Classics. I played a little bit of Super Metroid Prime. I played a little bit of Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3, as well as the original.
Oh, 2, did you? I feel like 2 is like one of those ones that like people don't really like, but I loved it.
See, and that's the funny part. I realize now I never played 2.
What?
And I started playing it. I played 1, I played 3, and I played pretty much every iteration of Mario that was on the NES or the SNES. I realized I never played 2. Wow. And I started playing it, and I was like, I don't really like this. And then I thought to myself, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure this is the one people don't like.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't know. It's different for sure. It's not.
It's very different.
Yeah, it's very different from the other, from the actual game. But yeah, but I don't know. I like it.
It's interesting to revisit those games after like not playing them for 20 years and realizing how difficult the controls were.
Yeah.
And how floaty Mario really felt. And I forgot that as a kid. So I did that. And I did play a little, I shouldn't say I watched my wife play Super Mario Odyssey. And so I'm going to start up my own save file on that sometime this week before we go away next week.
If she lets you, right?
Yeah, which I don't mind. That's fine. It's just, I'm one of those people who I enjoy watching someone else play because I love seeing their play styles. And so hers is when an enemy pops up on screen, she tends to mash the button and chuck that hat like repeatedly so fast I didn't even know it could do that, So it's just kind of fun to watch other people's play styles. But yeah, that pretty much rounds it out. I think I'm going to get Astral Chain as well, because that's actually the reason I got the Switch was Astral Chain. It's the same company that made Nier Automata. It's Platinum Games. They also made the Bayonetta games. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be their best game combat-wise to date. And so I think about how awesome Bayonetta combat is. I think how much I loved Nier Automata's combat. If Astral Chain takes it to a next level, I cannot wait to play that. So that's my week. Why don't we go ahead and move into a few, in case you missed it, stories here from this past week, and then we'll get into our topics.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah. I think it'll be funny if I do get like a Switch Lite, because I was thinking about that. But obviously it doesn't come out until like, a couple more weeks. I feel like it would be a funny kind of like shift for us to be like, we're going to talk about Switch for like 2 weeks.
Well, I have a Twitter poll currently running, and I gave the options of, would you like to talk to us or hear us talk more about the Switch on our podcast? And choice 1 was hell no. Choice 2 was hell yes. Choice 3 was you have a podcast, ? And choice 4 was something goofy. I don't remember what it was. And so far, the 2 lead vote getters are you have a podcast and hell yes. So hell yes is winning, but close behind it is you have a podcast ? So I think we may have to occasionally, if you get one, we may occasionally need to blend this and make this like a Nintendo station or a Playtendo type podcast. All right, so let's talk about the news, some of the in case you missed it stuff. I thought this was really cool. I saw somebody post about this, and then I found the news story, and I honestly hope that they do this in the United States. If you're missing out on one of the classic PlayStation 4 exclusives from your collection, now would be a good time to dive in. Sony unveiled a new range of titles called Titled Only on PlayStation. The console launched at retail in the UK earlier this week and consists of 10 of the console's biggest and best exclusives. But what I love about them is each one has a collectible sleeve accompanying the title. And so it's Bloodborne, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Marvel Spider-Man, Ratchet and Clank, Shadow of the Colossus, Last Guardian, Last of Us Remastered, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and Wipeout Omega collection. You can go check those out. They're available to purchase from Game, obviously, if you're in the UK. If you're over here, you're probably going to have to import them. But they look amazing. I really, really want those sleeves. And so I'm willing to buy those sleeves without actually owning the games again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'll gladly pay $10 for the sleeve. I don't, go look them up. They're gorgeous. And they're all like a very minimalist style thing. And so if you get a chance to check those out, I think that you would be very, very pleased with those. So let's move on.
I've seen them.
You've seen them?
I have, yeah. They look pretty amazing.
They do, right?
I was actually just trying to pull it up on Reddit because I was.
That's where you saw it?
Yeah. Someone was like.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter.
This is how they look in store. I was just like, because it was like a display of them. I was just like, what?
I want the Bloodborne one and I want the Horizon Zero Dawn one.
Yeah, the Horizon Zero Dawn one looks stupid.
Yeah. And so I'm going to have to see if I can import those somehow. But anyway, let's move on. The other thing I thought that was interesting, in case you missed it this week, was, and this is sure to make waves, you think a video game director has a pretty good grasp on what it is making. This comes via Push Square, but not at Kojima Productions. Hideo Kojima this week reached out in an interview with the Financial Times and reported on by VG 24/7 that he said, quote, "Death Stranding, even now, I don't understand the game. Its worldview, gameplay, they're all new. My mission is to create a genre that does not currently exist and which takes everyone by surprise. There is naturally a risk in that." And so even Kojima himself admitted he has no idea what his own game is about.
Well, I guess that's good. That's good to know, question mark?
I guess maybe we're just going to find out, just like he is. Apparently, I'm sure he probably knows what it's about. I think he doesn't know how to explain it. It's probably the better understand. I would hope anyway. I might be wrong. I have no idea. The next thing I wanted to touch on, in case you might have missed it this week, comes just from the PlayStation blog. Every month, at the end of the month, the beginning of the new month, they actually just publish the charts for the previous month so that you can see what games sold the most digitally on PlayStation Store. And I thought this was really interesting. Of course, Madden was at the top, and Minecraft and Grand Theft Auto and Marvel Spider-Man. But then after that is where I thought it got interesting, because Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege was 5th, and then Remnant from the Ashes was number 6.
Wow.
And so clearly, a game that I thought was kind of a niche thing that people weren't super interested in took, other than Madden, which was, of course, expected, is the second new game of last month to actually hit. Now, there wasn't a whole lot that came out, but Black Desert is number 7. If you scroll down a little bit further, actually, the Dark Anthology picked Man of Medan came in at number 20. And so, other than that, it was a lot of repeats. Now, you'll notice what's missing from this list, right? What came out at the end of last month? Remedy. It's Control. Mm-hmm. And so Control is missing from this list, but it did come out, August 30th?
Yeah.
So, what's it going to do in one day? It's not going to sell like gangbusters. So,
yeah, well,
I don't think
it was the 30th. It was 27th or something like that.
Okay, 27th. Maybe that's it.
It was towards the end of the month. It was not like...
Right. It wasn't something that was... It wasn't something that had a whole month to gain traction and then just fell apart, right? Or didn't sell well. Because it didn't even crack the top 20. However, to play a little bit of devil's advocate there, Remnant from the Ashes itself, that came out, actually, if I remember correctly, that came out pretty late in the what's the word I'm looking for here? In the month too. Does that sound correct?
Wait, say that one more time?
Remnant from the Ashes came out pretty late in the month too.
Um.
August 20th.
Hmm.
And so it had a week on Control, but it still managed to chart.
Yeah, I don't know. That is kind of crazy.
And so I did want to point that out because I thought that was kind of very, very interesting that it managed to chart and yet Control didn't, even though Control, did have a week less. And so I'd be curious to see if Control even makes the top 20 next month for September.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on, I just want to point out that the long-awaited expansion to Celeste, titled Farewell, finally has a release date on PlayStation 4. It's dropping the 9th of September, which is a Monday. So by the time you're listening to this podcast, it will be out. It's free. It brings 100 levels and 40 minutes of new music from Lena Raine.
Wow.
And so he announced along with that his studio is no longer going to be called Matt Makes Games, but rather it's going to be called Exoc, I believe is how it's pronounced. And so because he felt like it's no longer just himself, right? It's a little vain, I guess, because he was working solo in his parents' basement when he started the company. And of course, now he has a whole team behind him.
Yeah.
All right. So I thought I'd mention that as well. Let's see. One other thing I wanted to mention you brought out this week was, I guess to jump back to Death Stranding, was of course that Death Stranding is going to receive a very easy mode, which I'm not shocked about. Most games have something like that now, or an explorer mode, or, right? What was Assassin's Creed Odyssey's called? Something like exploration mode, something like that.
Discover mode.
Discover, that's it. I knew it was something with that. So yeah. I'm not shocked.
But I mean, that's based more on the fact that it's relatively
historical.
Yeah, historical.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think from what I read earlier today to kind of update this whole thing, it sounds like it's basically going to be a movie mode.
Yeah.
And so it'll be a movie mode for those who want to just enjoy a game that no one knows what it's about. So, also, one other thing that really stuck out to me, and this is the last thing we'll wrap up our news with, or in case you missed it here, is you watched E3, most of it, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember Ikuma Nakamura, who came in to introduce Ghostwire Tokyo? She was the very energetic little woman that had glasses, and she kind of danced and talked about how excited she was to announce this new game. She kind of became like an internet sensation.
Okay.
After that. Well, if you don't remember, that's fine. She is basically the creative director who clearly was passionate about this project and couldn't wait to introduce it. She has left Tango Gameworks. And moving on to who knows why. She didn't give a reason why she was leaving, just that she had other things ahead. But I'm worried about that game now because she was the creative director, the story writer, and the scenario writer, as well as a concept artist on the game. So basically it was her project. And so now she's leaving it behind when the game's not even close to being finished, from what I gather. Because we only saw a CG trailer at E3. We didn't see any gameplay.
Yeah.
So I am going to say this now. That game gets canceled.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not today, not tomorrow, but within the next 6 months, it either gets canceled or we never hear from it again, which basically means it's canceled.
Right.
So I wanted to point that out because that was probably the most disappointing piece of news I saw this week because I'm so excited for that game. And I was excited just because I didn't know anything about it. I wanted to see where it was going to go. She seemed clearly enthusiastic about it. And so I was hoping that we could be just as excited about it when it came out. And the trailer looked amazing. But now that she's off of it and she's creative director, script writer, scenario writer, and concept artist, it's kind of one of those things where I don't know how it's going to actually turn out. That would be like Hideo Kojima leaving in the middle of creating Metal Gear Solid or Death Stranding, right? How much is it really going to be a Kojima game afterwards?
Right.
because he's so visionary with everything, and she seemed like she was very much guiding this project.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, Matt, getting into more generic stuff, we'll just move on into our little bit of topic of conversation here for today. We have 2 different topics I want to touch on.
Sure.
All right, so this is the talk. Matt, we're getting back to our roots here with a little bit of a more formal talk here. We cover topic to topic sometimes, depending on the week. This one jumped out at me because I'm playing Yakuza 0. I love it. I'm going to finish it. I think, was it 1 or 2? I think it was 1 maybe that was a free PS Plus game. I know we've talked about this before and I can never remember which one is the free PS Plus game. But either way, I have that one and I purchased, I believe, it was Yakuza Kiwami. It was the first one. I believe I have the second one that I bought for like $10. So I have 3 Yakuza games. I had planned on playing 3, 4, and 5, and possibly 6.
Yeah.
I am super excited to get into this. When they announced Yakuza 7, I was like, good, I'll get caught up with these. This one's a new story, new character, so I don't have to worry about if I don't finish the other Yakuza games. I could hop right into this one. Then, do you remember they announced that game back in April and they showed the gameplay and it looked like an RPG, turn-based?
Yeah.
Came out this past week or so that was the actual gameplay. It was not an April's Fool joke. That was the actual gameplay. So they've made 9 of these games, 9 or 10 of these games at this point, because there's also Judgment, and then there's a couple of spin-off Yakuza games on different systems where they're action brawlers, and they've basically turned it into an action turn-based RPG like Dragon Quest Builders. What I wanted to know, and what I'm asking you to weigh in on, is how do you feel about this? Is there a game franchise that you could think of that if it decided to move in a completely different direction with the genre of gameplay, would it upset you? Would you be okay with it? Would you welcome the change? I kind of want to know how you would react to this.
Well, you know me and turn-based RPGs. If it went that way, obviously I'd probably be a little peeved. But, I mean, look at Assassin's Creed. I mean, they kind of reworked everything.
They did.
You know, maybe they didn't switch genre as much as, you know, as this game does. But, I mean, they reworked it pretty hard, right? I mean,
yes,
it's a completely different game, realistically.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I loved it when they did it with Assassin's Creed. I guess it's just a matter of whether it works or not.
And that's what I'm wondering too. And I when I thought of Yakuza 7, I also thought of the fact that Darksiders 4 is doing this, is it not? Because it's going from a hack and slash open world or semi-open world game to Darksiders 4 is like a top-down Diablo type shooter.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what they think that you know, maybe they think they need to do. They need to kind of reinvent things to kind of like keep the game fresh. You know, maybe they saw kind of Assassin's Creed's lead and kind of went with that. You know what I mean? Like they saw how well it worked for them, and they kind of like, you know, kind of said, well, what if we mix it up? Can we do the same thing? Can we pull off the same thing?
Yeah. Well, what I find interesting is Assassin's Creed did it, and again, you said it wasn't a major overhaul, right? But it seemed to work for them. Darksiders, I think, needs to do it because that game's kind of been a niche game, and I think that now they have an opportunity maybe to see if they can reach a different audience and grow a little bit with who's playing that game.
Right.
Yakuza is a surprising one to me because I feel like the Yakuza series has been a niche game for quite some time, but I feel like suddenly it's starting to come more and more into focus, and more people are paying attention to it and going back and playing those games. So their popularity is growing in a way. I wonder if this would be detrimental to throwing them off that path that they seem to be carving through their other games, because Judgment sold very well, right? And
yeah,
that
exactly.
made people like me go, oh, maybe I should try a Yakuza game. or it's Yakuza. I keep saying Yakuza. It's Yakuza. But anyway, I do wonder, is this a good thing for? We saw this also with Resident Evil, right? And look how horrible that turned out for them when 1 and 2 and 3 were very much the survival, and then by the time they got to 6, it was like an action game.
Right.
And then they kind of redeemed themselves with 7, though, because they did go in a different direction and make it first person. And so they've actually switched direction a couple of times, not genre, but style, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so, yeah, I don't know. Do we like when games do this? We're starting to see it more now. Is this a good thing?
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of just depends on the game. I mean, I can understand with Darksiders making more Diablo-like. I mean, Diablo has a huge following. People love that game. So maybe they get some of those people to kind of buy into their franchise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, why not expand your horizons a little bit?
Yeah.
Because here's
That's
the thing:
true.
if it works, then you get a whole new gamer base, right? You get the people coming back that are like, "Oh, it's a Yakuza game. I want to play it. I want to at least try it out." But then you get these people like, "Oh, it's a JRPG now. Let me try it. Maybe I'll like it better." And then once those people get in there, they're like, "Oh, maybe I'll go back and like play the other games. This is a good story. Like, maybe I want to know more. Like how you are. Like, oh, I'd rather play, sequentially, kind of to a certain extent. But maybe more people come back to the other games, and then they're still, selling more games and making more money because of it."
Yeah. Now, what I find interesting in conjunction with this is that Assassin's Creed didn't change its price point value, right, at all.
Right.
But what I do find interesting is Darksiders Genesis is only $40. And so not only are they experimenting with style and genre, they're experimenting with price.
Right.
And as far as Yakuza goes, I think that's still going to be a $60 game. I don't think it's up for order yet.
Yeah, I would imagine it'd be 60.
I imagine so too. Now, if it's not, I find it even more interesting because it's really, maybe they're, gambling that it'll be more appealing if they take a risk and drop the price too.
Yeah. But I don't know. To me, that just says, when they drop the price, it just says, to me, smaller game.
You think so?
I do. Yeah, for sure. What was the last $40 game you bought that lasted longer than 50 hours?
Well, I'd have to think about that. I don't know how long. I obviously didn't play it. Far Cry New Dawn would be interesting to see how long that takes. I'm not sure about that one because that was $40, right?
I'd have to check, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was $40 when it came out. And I don't know how long it is, but I do know that was a price point they played with because it felt like a smaller, not smaller, but it felt like a different experience, right? Like they just rushed it out, I guess, in some ways was what some people felt because there's a reskinning of Far Cry 5. And so that's, and you're right. I mean, that length definitely has something to do with it. But I do think of something like Remnant from the Ashes. And, okay, so Far Cry New Dawn takes you between 15 and 30 hours to complete. So it's under your 40 that you highlighted.
Yeah.
Remnant from the Ashes.
And that's the thing, real quick, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
With, like you were saying, it's kind of a reskinning of 5. They kind of do that with the Far Cries. They take forever to kind of build a new game, and then they have, half a game hot on its heels, right? So, they've done that before. It's not uncommon for sure. But when they switch it up, like when it was like Far Cry Primal, and they kind of switched it up a little bit, it was a full price game.
Okay, so you're thinking that what we could possibly find out with something like Darksiders Genesis is it's obviously a shorter game to you, or it speaks like that.
Yeah, I think so.
I'll be curious to see that.
Let me just say that, not that that's a bad thing.
No, it's definitely not a bad thing. I need shorter games. I have enough of a backlog.
Yeah, exactly. So, we don't need all these 80-hour games. I'm not saying that's what we need from people or from developers. I'd be okay with, a 10-hour game and paying $40. I'm fine with that. or
Now,
a game
here's the-
like or a game like Trials Rising, you know, that where the replayability is like super high.
Yeah. So not to totally derail us here, we'll get back to the point, but so Yakuza 7 will probably be $60, and it makes sense because it's probably going to be a longer game, even if it is an action RPG, so it's not, completely turn-based, but like, because from what I understand, you can still run around, and there's still, you're choosing commands as you're running around fighting, so similar to Dragon Quest Builders, which is funny because the main character in this game supposedly loves Dragon Quest Builders, so I feel like, art imitating art there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this can be healthy for a franchise, and I think that's the Assassin's Creed is a good sign of that. Of maybe if you've made 8, 9 of these games, it's time to switch it up. I know you're going to upset longtime fans, but at the same time, too, like you said, you have a chance to pull in more people. So we'll see what happens. I'd be very curious to see where that goes. So the second thing I wanted to talk about today, unless you have anything else to say about that.
No, that's pretty much it.
And this is something that I've just been thinking about a lot this week because I played the Ononaki demo, and I'm downloading several demos on the Switch for smaller games because I'm not quite sure whether or not I want to invest in them yet. I wish we had, and I know we have had several of these, but I wish this was kind of the industry standard. I would love to have more demos, especially for single-player games, that let us play the opening of the game and saves our progress and allows our character progress to carry over. And so Ononaki does that. I'm pretty sure the Surge also did that. And I want to know, if it's a single-player game, is this the way that all demos should be?
Yeah, I honestly don't see why not. I think, obviously it isn't yet, but I think it will become the industry standard. But here's the kind of the problem, right? You talk about demos and the progress being saved. A lot of what we see right now, though, aren't demos. It's alphas and betas, where they're still really retweaking the game. So it's becomes very hard for them to then save that kind of progress because, they may change the game completely. I mean, look at Fallout 76. People played the beta. It was so effed that they had to the day one patch was bigger than the actual load space for the game. Right. So I think that's part of the problem. Is there's alphas and betas, and then that's not a even when you play alphas and betas, it says this is not a true representation of the game. This is a work in progress. Please, we want you're testing it out. Basically, you're a tester. But if once we get past those things and we get demos, I don't see why it wouldn't become industry standard. Especially,
well, I do want to.
Good.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say I want to interject too to remember that a lot of those ones you're talking about are also multiplayer games.
Sure. Yeah.
So that does make a difference.
Right. Of course. Alphas and betas are easier, especially when they have online components. It's easier to test them online, obviously. Sure. However, they should still be, they eventually save your progress once the game comes out, right? Yeah.
And I do understand why in multiplayer they wouldn't do, because they don't want anybody to have an advantage. If I sink 60 hours into a beta and I get my character to level 30, I do think there's a smart way to cap that, though, and then match make that afterwards. If people want to say, let me grind to level 8 or 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I think one game where that didn't matter, that they should have allowed that to happen, was actually Destiny. Right, because Destiny was PvE. At least I think the part you and I played was, right? If I remember correctly. Does that sound right?
I don't remember there being PvP personally.
Right. And so they should have allowed the progress to carry over for that character. I think that would have been a smart move there.
Right.
And helpful for, purposes there. But, that's neither here nor there. I do think more games should, demo-wise, allow that to happen. And actually miss demos. I miss demos a lot. We don't get nearly as many as we should, I think, either anymore. But that's a different complaint.
Well, what I was going to say is, before you interjected, was I feel like it's going to become standard because, like I told you, I was part of that, I did that EA access or whatever. And part of what they want to do is, when you have early access to the game, or, when you have, when they have a demo for these EA access people, they want that to be progress saving. And that's what it is. Like, like if I bought Madden right now, it would pick up where I left off if I went into like the career mode or whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh, it would?
Yeah, as far as I know. I mean, that's what the service said, basically. You know what I mean?
Right.
Play it 3 days get early access to it, basically, and then if you buy it, all your progress will transfer over.
Okay.
So it is. I mean, I think it is heading in that direction, especially with these streaming services, right? Because if you're streaming games, or even if you're just downloading them to your computer or whatever, it's still kind of save progress to the cloud to a certain extent, right?
Right.
So why not just keep that?
Yeah, I would agree. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, sure it would.
And so, I even would enjoy just here's 60 minutes as far as you can get kind of trial. And let me play 60 minutes and go, okay, you know what? I played an hour of this. I felt like I got a good space in. I would love to continue buying. That's the kind of game that typically would sell me on something. That's what sold me on Resident Evil 2, and they had that one-shot demo, and it's like, hey, you have, what was it, I think 30 minutes?
Yeah.
See how far you can get. Now, there was an end to that. They didn't let you go through the whole game. But I thought that was kind of cool because I was like, oh, man, I'm rushing around. I'm getting to see stuff. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do as much as I can in 30 minutes. And then when my time was up, I was like, you know what? I just really want to buy this and play it. And I never did, but that's different reasoning.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I would love to see more often than not us get demos that allow us to save our progress, to jump right into the game. And I think that a lot of games do themselves a disservice by not doing that. Because there are a lot of games I've played demos for, and it's like, here's a small slice of the action. And so you might even play the beginning of the game, but then when you purchase it, you've got to start all over.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, oh, well, why do I have to do this? Like, I'm kind of bored with this opening segment now.
Sure, yeah.
I've done it once. I'm convinced. Code Vein actually brings me to mind of that because I played the private network test, and it was great. I played the first mission through. And they now have a demo up that unlocks a different dungeon and a different area for you to explore. Well, I didn't even bother because if I'm going to get that at the end of the month, why the hell am I going to spend my time a second time playing through, it's sure it's a different part, but I know I'm going to come across that part in the game. Why am I going to bother doing that when I can I'm already dreading playing through that whole first level again. So.
Right, yeah.
Not because it's terrible. It's just... we talk about this all the time as being adults. Our time is limited.
Right, exactly.
And so I'd rather pick up and be like, boom, here I go. I'm right in where I was.
Yeah.
Right?
I think ultimately it is more enticing to say, hey, we respect the time you're putting into it. Right? So we're going to let you keep that time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It makes me want to spend more money with the developer.
Agreed. So just a brain pick.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Does PlayStation still do the hour-long or 2-hour-long trials for some games?
Well, actually, you know what? I've noticed that I don't believe I see that now. I think that has kind of faded away, and I thought that was something they did. Wasn't that at the start of this generation they were doing that?
Yeah, it was definitely something they were doing because I remember playing a couple games and just be like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like I can play literally like the first couple hours of the game and then to really try it out.
That's what I thought, and it's completely disappeared. Yeah. Completely. And so that's a little a shame. That's not there anymore. But I think you're right. It was being in this gen, and I love that. And it's completely disappeared. I have no idea why.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know either.
So... all right, that's going to wrap that up. I thought that was worth talking about because, like I said, I'm downloading a lot of demos on the Switch, and I'm dreading how many of them are going to make me play and then repurchase the game later on and go, well, you didn't quite make it that far.
Yeah.
So, I also, before we wrap up and move into See You Soon, I do want to point out one thing that I forgot to mention earlier in the podcast, and I would love to know if when this still goes live Wednesday, if it's still true. This past Monday, Drive Club was supposed to be delisted and deactivated from the PlayStation Store.
Right.
And it was done so in a lot of European territories. They took it off a day early. As of this recording at 10 o'clock at night on Saturday night, Drive Club is still up for purchase on the North American store and has not been delisted yet.
Well.
And so I just wanted to highlight that because, you know, they complained about licensing issues, and they're obviously shutting down the servers next year, but they complained about licensing issues in terms of why the cars and everything, why they had to delist the game.
Yeah.
But it is and it was supposed to be no longer available after Monday of this week. It is still available for purchase.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Very interesting. And just something I thought was very odd. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, it is very odd.
All right.
You're not wrong.
Let's move into my other favorite segment. See you soon.
See you soon.
Matt, this is a big week.
It is a big week. Holy shit.
It is a big week. I forgot this was coming out this week.
There goes the censor kitty. Sorry, Dave. Yeah, I was like, holy. I was just scrolling through it just now, like while you were talking about that last bit of news. It's like, wow, holy crap. There's a lot of stuff and a lot of big stuff coming out.
Big stuff. Yeah, I didn't even look to see if there was a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of big stuff this week. So,
good
and the biggest
Lord, man.
It's
going to take
some
us
heavy
20
hitters
minutes
this
to read
week
through this list.
All right, so we may not have time for the Metacritic game I had prepared. Yeah, all right. You want to get started, or you want me to start?
You go ahead.
Yes. All right. Agatha Knife. I'm assuming that's her name. Agatha Knife, right?
Yeah, I would imagine.
She's carrying knives.
Yeah.
Join Agatha. Believe in carnivorism. Embark on this twisted adventure with Agatha, a child torn between her love for eating meat and her friendship with animals.
Wow.
That's dark. What a dark start to the week.
Yeah, I know, right? All right. Well, I don't know if it's going to get any better with Battle Wake PSVR digital out 9/10. Thar be high seas mayhem ahead in Battle Wake, a rip-roaring pirate combat game exclusively for VR. Become 4 mythical pirate lords, captain a massive, upgradable battle-ready ship, and wield ancient powers.
Nice. Oh, snap. I did not realize this was out this week. I am so pumped for this game. Blasphemous. This is like, I'll just read the description, then I'll rant afterwards. Blasphemous is a punishing action platformer that combines the fast-paced, skilled combat of a hack-and-slash game with a deep and evocative narrative core, delivered through exploration of a huge universe comprised of non-linear levels. It's like a hack-and-slash Dark Souls, and I cannot wait.
That sounds exciting.
It looks so... Huh?
I said that
it just looks
exciting.
Creepy as all get out when you look at some of the gameplay and other stuff in it. I cannot wait.
Alrighty. Some would argue the most anticipated game of September, Borderlands 3, PS4.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, right. PS4 digital retail out 9/13. The original shooter-looter returns, packing bazillions of guns and a mayhem-fueled adventure. Blast through new worlds and enemies as one of 4 new vault hunters. Play solo or with friends to take on insane enemies, score loads of loot, and save your home from the most ruthless cult leaders in the galaxy.
I think it's safe to say the time for our wallets to cry has begun. It is September fall gaming.
Yeah, for sure.
Caravan Stories, PS4 digital. Live for the journey. Do you ever find yourself with a similar feeling of wanderlust? Vast open prairies, mystical forests as far as the eye can see, barren lands covered in rocky outcroppings. Caravan Stories is a free-to-play MMORPG where you adventure in an expansive world with a large cast of allies.
Cool. All right, up next we have Distraint Deluxe Edition, PS4, PS Vita, digital cross-buy. Distraint Deluxe Edition is a 2D psychological horror adventure game that tells the story of Price, a young man who seizes an old woman's apartment. After seizing her home, his humanity is now gone. So begins his tale of regrets. Ooh.
So I'm not sure why they're calling it this way this year, because usually it's just PES 2020 or PES 2019, but it's called eFootball PES 2020.
Yeah, I like
Experience.
that. I think it's pretty smart. I don't know. I mean, obviously it's a renaming, but it kind of evokes exactly what it is, does it not?
That's true. Experience unparalleled realism and authenticity in this year's definitive football game, PES 2020. Take command of the ball like never before with a new first touch techniques and finely tuned ball physics. Pick a side and join forces with newcomers and veterans alike.
Ooh, cool.
Good
Alrighty. Up next we have Ellen, PS4
DeGeneres.
digital out. Yeah. No, this looks way darker than Ellen DeGeneres. PS4 digital out 9/13. Help young investigator James uncover the dark truth behind the murder of the Smiths and their missing daughter Ellen in this thrilling 2D pixel horror game. If you don't believe in paranormal events, meet the people from White Hill. Ooh.
Cool.
I'm getting all the creepy ones. Uh-oh.
You are. This is...
You got it. You got to read the best one for yourself.
Dude, okay, so first off, somebody found this game in the wild 12 days early. And so they've been playing it for the last, on my Twitter, they've been posting screenshots and videos from the last 12 days. They've been playing, they're about 20 hours into it, and they've got like 4 main missions
in the
done.
wild?
I mean, like at a store, like a mom and pop shop. They found it on a shelf.
Get out of here.
And that's what I said. I said 12 days early, and they're like, yep. So Greedfall, I've been talking about this one for months. Explore uncharted new lands as you set foot on a remote island seeping with magic and filled with riches, lost secrets, and fantastic creatures. With diplomacy, deception, and force, become part of a living, evolving world. Influence its course and shape your story. I cannot wait.
Exciting for Robert. All right, up next we have Hero Express, PS4 digital out 9/10. Drive across the globe as the best delivery man in the world. Will you be able to reach the end of each track without dying? In Hero Express, your skills will be put to the test against this fun, colorful world of as you challenge 11 different tracks with as many different crazy vehicles. Ooh.
Didn't we read that one? Or is that just me?
I don't think so.
Did we do one like that, Hero Express, a couple weeks ago?
I don't know, maybe.
Sounds eerily familiar. All right, moving on. Jigsaw Zen. I almost said den. Find your Zen with over 100 beautiful puzzles, including paintings, digital art, anime, and many more categories. Solve puzzles as complex as you desire, from 28 to 510 pieces. A compelling soundtrack, slideshow mode, and many puzzle options allow you to customize your experience. Earn trophies as you complete puzzles. I bet this has a freaking platinum.
Oh my gosh, Robert. You can put together puzzles and get a platinum trophy?
While you read the next one, I will be on PSN profiles looking it up.
I know you will. I know you will. All right, up next we got NASCAR Heat. PS4 digital retail out 9/13. NASCAR Heat 4 is the official video game of NASCAR. Looking and sounding better than ever with updated user interface, graphics, and engine audio. Race across 38 tracks in all 3 NASCAR National Series, plus the fan favorite Extreme Dirt Tour.
You know what? That was very southern of you. And I live in the South, and I gotta say that was good.
It felt right for NASCAR.
It did feel right. All right, I love the title of this next one. Next Gen Sandbox.
Wow. I love the description.
I love the artwork too. All right. So the artwork looks like, first off, it's from the 90s. right?
Yeah.
It's like one giant ass explosion
Pretty
of
awesome.
barrels. All right. You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
I don't have any water with me. I hope I don't choke on my own words here.
Yep.
Create your own dynamic game world with this professional editor.
I love that. It's all the description is.
I love that it's called Next Gen Sandbox too. I mean, how trash can we get? By the way,
Pretty amazing.
Jigsaw Zen, Platinum Trophy, and a ton of gold trophies. They're all gold trophies.
Ooh. Yeah, because they're puzzles there, man. It's not easy.
I know, but you should see the trophies. They're legit. I bet you could finish this in probably about 15 minutes.
Maybe I will. All right. Up next. We loved this game when we were younger. NHL 20, PS4 digital retail out 9/13. In NHL 20, your favorite NHL stars now look and feel more authentic with new signature shots and over 45 new shot types that make every attack a threat. A new broadcast package celebrates your biggest plays as you take on all new game modes, including the new winner-take-all Eliminator mode. Cool.
Was it this year or last year they finally got rid of and changed up the people who call it?
I think it was 2 years ago, actually.
2 years ago? Okay. I was just wondering. I was just thinking about that since they said change up the broadcast package. All right. Reel fishing, road trip adventure. Grab your rod, reel, and adventurous spirit as you join 3 friends on a summer road trip to remember. Visit a variety of fishing spots from deep fish fishing to freshwater stream fishing. Upgrade skills and abilities and craft rods, reels, and lures as you and the gang track down and try to catch the big one.
Ooh, fun. That was very
Oh,
sudden of you.
yes. I like this one.
That was a good feel for that read. I like that. All right,
Thanks.
up next,
It felt right.
Yeah, it did. It was right, Rob. All right,
Damn
up next
you.
we got Super
I'll tell you why in a
Dodgeball Beats. PS4 digital out 9/12. You're invited to the craziest dodgeball contest ever. Get your groove on with Super Dodgeball Beats, the world's most intense rhythm sports game. Take part in insanely cool dodgeball games played to the rhythm of 18 original music tracks. Tap to the beat with perfect timing and conquer your rivals in style. There's nothing else like it. I'm not surprised by that statement, actually.
I'm gonna go on a limb right now and say this is the best week of the year for release of video games. Forget any other week, forget any other games that are coming out. When you have Borderlands 3, Jigsaw Zen, and Next Gen Sandbox all in the same week. I don't know. And Super Dodgeball Beats, I don't know that it gets any better. Plus Greedfall. I mean, this is
My wallet is weeping.
Your wallet is weeping. And this is why I said damn you, because this next one. Yuta Wara Romanono Zan. Yuta Wara Romanumo Zan. I don't know. Unveil a lost legend, a new light with Yuzan. I'm not saying that whole name again. This action-packed brawler.
You could do it.
Is a reimagination of the story of Haku, a man with no memories, and the great conflict that consumes the land he calls home. Venture through dynamic battlefields, unleash devastating special moves, and experience a grand tale of war and destiny. If anybody knows how to pronounce that, please write it in and let me know.
Yeah. It's spelled Utawarerumano. Utawarerumano. Anyways, all right, up next.
Well, this one's interesting.
They're dead, but the game isn't. The Walking
Well,
Dead.
they're alive.
Huh?
I forgot to put this in the news. A company purchased Telltale Games and said that they were going to get them back to making great games again or something like that. That's not very Trumpian, but not quite like that.
They're going to make Telltale games again. All right. We got The Walking Dead, the Telltale Definitive Series.
I swore these were delisted.
Awesome. All right. Well, play the acclaimed series that set the benchmark for storytelling in games based on Robert Kirkman's award-winning comic book, The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead, the Telltale Definitive Series, contains all 4 seasons, 400 days, and The Walking Dead Michonne. Michonne? Yeah, Michonne? Michonne? Okay. Which includes over 50 hours of gameplay across 23 unique episodes. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought because Telltale was because the company that purchased Telltale purchased Wolf Among Us and the Batman properties because that's all they could get their whole hands on. Apparently, The Walking Dead was off limits, and so were some of the other ones. But what I find really interesting about that is the fact that these are being re-released as a definitive series. So,
well, that's probably why they couldn't get their hands on it.
Yeah, because they know they can still make money off of these.
Yeah, well, this was probably also in the works.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
To recoup some money.
All right, WRC 8 FIA World Rally Championship, the most complete and authentic official WRC simulation yet. New physics for all surfaces, completely redesigned career mode, and dynamic weather conditions. 50 teams, 14 countries, 100 tracks, weekly challenges, and an esports mode.
That's crazy, dude. 100 tracks?
Yeah, that is insane.
Yikes.
Sounds good to me, though. So, all right. That wraps it up.
That does.
Yeah, if top 3 this week for me, I'd got to say would probably be Blasphemous, in no particular order, Borderlands, and Greedfall. But honorable mention and runner-up to Next Gen Sandbox.
I'm going to go with Borderlands. What else? Pez. eFootball as it's now called, and I'm going to go with my last one as NASCAR. No, I'm just kidding. NHL 20.
Yeah, that's I think a good one. I tried looking up Next Gen Sandbox. I don't see any trophies for that. I was trying to see if I could find, because that just doesn't sound real. I mean, that doesn't sound like a real game, but apparently it is.
Yeah.
Because when I search for it, oh, there's a trailer. There is a trailer, my friends.
We'll watch it off air.
Yeah, we will. We will have to watch it off air. All right. Well, everyone, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to bring back MetaQuip next week. And especially since we got lots of games that are being reviewed this week, we'll have some good times with that, I am sure.
Oh, absolutely.
And make Matt guess them. And so we'll get to that bridge when we cross it. But, or cross that bridge when we get to it. I said it backwards. But anyway, thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. And until next time, game on.
Game on. This is the outro music, the Southern NASCAR outro music. From driving around in a single circle and loving it because there's destruction too. Woo!
Nice. I like that. Nice stuff.